Good morning, everyone. Dear entrepreneurs, I strongly believe that we are doing a wonderful job in your respective domains and in your respective projects, uh, which is quite innovative, and you must be attaining your preset objectives vis-a-vis the milestones. And in the process, you must be getting some support, financial support, either by way of the bootstrap or maybe from your families and close friends, or sometimes you must be getting some funding from the incubators like us. So no matter in which stage or in which area of the financial support you belong to there is always a scope for acquiring funds for your further development of the corresponding business. So with that in mind, and I just thought of sharing some of the inputs pertaining to the series of funding. I know that you people must be aware of all this. However, it is really important for you to give a second thought to all these provisions in the series of funding, right from the POC level, ideation stage to the POC to the prototype, and further expansion to the national market to the international market. So, irrespective of the which phase of the business development you are into, so you can gain some insight into it, and you can think of getting the kind of support that you actually are comfortable with in different phases of your business. So with that in mind, today I'm going to have a discussion on the series of the funding that will start with the pre-seed funding, the seed funding, and then from series A to series B. So although usually the startup like you try to acquire from Series A to C funding, and D and E seldom people go for it. But nevertheless, it is even significant to know about all those also. So now I will share my screen so that we can proceed with the discussion. I hope everybody can see this slide. This is the topic of the day, all about the startup funding from Series A to Series E. So to introduce the topic, uh, as all of you know, and I also explained it in quite details in the recent past when I have discussed about various topics pertaining to the entrepreneurial journey. A business has to go through a series of funding depending upon the need. The need is quite important because at different stages you have a different needs. So, for example, it could be funding for the expansion in the manufacturing unit in case you are into a product-based innovative entrepreneurship, or sometimes funding for the marketing purposes so that you can creep into the international domain. Okay, so now these are the stages of funding rounds. Okay, so that starts with the pre-seed funding. Then comes the seed funding. What is pre-seed funding? This is not even sometimes called the funding per se, because this is either from your close family members or the friends. And then comes the seed funding, where you start hoping to grow somewhere down the line. And then comes the Series A to Series E of the funding. So these are the different rounds of funding depending on your various stages of business operations. Now we'll start, putting all into perspective right from the pre-seed funding, and let us see what it entails into. So let us begin with the pre-seed funding. It is basically the earliest stage of funding, and the founders are working with a very small team sometimes, and I personally have seen being from the ecosystem enablers, part of the active team, that some of the times the startups, they keep on working day and night, and they're alone in their endeavors in order to develop a prototype or even a proof of concept. And therefore, as I told you, the pre-seed funding usually comes from the founder themselves or their families and their friends. Sometimes, in very rare cases, angel investors also, in order to get some benefits out of the innovative startup, they also can put in their money. So this is about the pre-seed funding. And now the important thing is in the entrepreneurial journey, which begins with the seed funding. So that many entrepreneurs raise the seed funding irrespective of whether or not they can go further to acquire a Series A funding. So this is about the seed. And the motive behind this is hope, in which the entrepreneurs believe that the company is going to grow and they can expand the way they wish according to their preset milestones. So, what is the significance of the seed funding? It is used to take a startup from the idea to the first stage, such as the product development and the market research. As far as the quantum is concerned, it's $500,000 to $2 million, the seed funding. And for that, the corresponding valuation has to be from $3 million to $6 million. So what exactly the valuation means? Valuation for different, established company, it is done on the basis of the net worth after a close evaluation of its a balance sheet, the assets and liabilities, and even the goodwill. So all those things are being considered. But as far as the startups are concerned, the valuation more or less, it depends on the hope of where these actually startups can go in the times to come, and that according to the potential of their product or the service that they are into. So this is the about the valuation. Now, what were the key takeaways? Let us see, and you can see the pictorial representation. It also matters a lot. You can see the startup is trying to plunge into some of the basic funding for fulfilling its requirements. So wonderful. So key takeaways as far as the concerned, the seed funding also to some extent it comes from the family and friends, but it comes from the angel investors as well and incubators, because a large number of incubators are into operation. We are also from one of such incubators in the Delhi NCR. So incubators, they also have started supporting this startups on the basis of their project evaluation. And in case they see some potential into it, uh, then they are ready to fund from the various backups given by the government agencies. And sometimes, venture capitalist firms, they also focus on the early stage startups to fetch the benefit of low acquiring price. Uh, the angel investor, although, are the most common type of the investor at this stage. Okay. Because the range is quite average, and not many venture capitalists will show interest at that point in time. Let us now look for the Series A funding and what exactly it means, what it entails for that matter. So, when a startup with the kind of support it has been able to generate in its pre-seed funding and seed funding stages, and if they have been, made some kind of traction with the MVP. MVP means the minimum viable product, and the people have started accepting, and they are ready to buy this product when it comes to the market in the final shape and size. They can think of the Series A round to help lift them to the next level. Primarily the investment in the Series A is usually $2 million to $15 million to be specific, and the corresponding the evaluation of the company has to be from $10 million to $15 million. So this kind of fact and figures you can keep in mind, so that when you try to explore for this kind of financial support, you can correlate the things accordingly. So this is the happy in startup. He has been able to acquire the Series A funding. Again, a pictorial representation. Just the key takeaways you can see the tractions can be measured by the entrepreneur or the evaluator also. And this can be measured in terms of the number of users, the revenue generated, the views, or whatever other key performance indicator they have set for themselves. This could be the entrepreneurs, this could be the investors. So according to the KPIs, they will go and evaluate. And what is the basic requirement or what the expectations from the startups at this point in time by the venture capitalists who are trying to invest into their money is the startups are expected to have a plan for developing a business model. although they may not have proven it yet, but then they must be confident enough to pitch their business model in front of the investors. And here there is a word of caution. Many, startups while pitching to the investors, they try to show as if nothing can go wrong. So this primarily is not good. You have to show the element of risk, at least some iota of the risk that you may feel it could happen. But then you must show enough confidence to be able to tackle all those obstacles. Okay. The investors, they also expect to use the money raised to increase their revenue. And as far as the investment in the Series A is concerned, it is since it is higher than the seed round, the investors are going to go and seek more substance than they usually require for the seed funding. This is simply because of the amount in question involved. Okay, and also the since the bite size is longer, and more amount of money is required to be invested. That also means that fewer total investments will be made at Series A funding rounds. So this is about the Series A funding. Coming to the Series B funding, when a startup reaching the point where they are ready to raise Series B round has already found their product market fit and need help expanding. That means you, with the kind of support that you have been able to receive at the Series A funding, you have acquired adequate market, and your product is readily accepted by the consumers all across. So now you are ready to further expand. Now here the big question is, whatever have been your parameters that have been satisfied after funding a Series A round, can you actually increase it exponentially? For example, uh, can you scale from 100 users to 1,000 users or even 1 million users? Say same thing goes about the amount of money or the turnover per se. So this is a big question. And the Series B funding, the investors will always try to project all these things while considering for funding this program. So the amount in question is $7 million to $10 million in the Series B funding, and the corresponding valuation of the company has to be from 30 million to 60 million on an average. This is the standard, average. Okay. So another pictorial representation. Now we are comfortable, as you can see from the facial expression, and all around you can see dollars and dollars. So let us find out the key takeaways from the Series B funding. The expansion primarily means the growing the team as well, because the increasing customer base will require a large number of people to address their point of concern and to be able to give them the right kind of service. And to be specific, Series B funding comes usually from the venture capitalist funds, often the same investors, who have invested in the Series A funding, and they are quite sure about your potential to grow further. And since each round comes with a new valuation for the startup, the previous investors often choose to reinvest because their piece of pie is quite significant. In some cases, companies may also attract the interest of the venture capital firms that invest in the late stage startups. Okay, so these are all the key takeaways. Now we'll see the almost final Series C funding, because I told you earlier, D and E, although they exist in the provision, very seldom the people will go for it. So what is Series C funding? In this round, companies are looking to take their product out of their home country and try to reach the international market, because in order to capture the international market, they will require a huge amount of money, and this can be, done only through the Series C funding. At the same time, they also are looking to increase their valuation before going for the IPO, so that in the very beginning they are getting the maximum benefit out of it. And when does it happen actually? When the company's product has been appreciated all along, and people are eager to buy this. So that's why they term darling as well. So the product has become darling in the market. That's when the private equity firms and investment bankers they show up. And why do they show up? Because these are the agencies which do not believe in taking risk. So when they have seen that the product is already across the market and everybody is behind it, they see a lot of profit to be taken out of it, and so therefore they try to put massive sums of money into the companies so that they can secure their leadership position in the market, being the financial support system. So during these Series C funding rounds, usually, $26 million is expected to be raised, and the corresponding Series C valuation has to be from $100 million to $120 million. Okay, so all these, the leading particulars or the facts and figures, you can just keep in mind for further references. I know everybody of you are aware of more or less of all these concepts, but even then it matters to just refresh your idea and knowledge. Actually, let us see now the dollars is all around, and you are the one who can take maximum benefit out of this kind of funding. The key takeaways is section Series C, as I told you earlier, it's often the last round that a company is facing. Although some of them they go for the Series D and even Series E, but usually this is the final push to prepare a company to go for its IPO, initial public order for that matter. Okay, or an acquisition person. And the key point is that in this Series C funding, valuation is not on the basis of the hopes and expectations alone. They require hard data points like number of customers, the revenue, the current and expected growth. So they want to reconfirm and reaffirm that the project is never going to be in the loss. Okay. And this kind of funding usually comes from the venture capitalist firm that they invest in the late stage startup, the private equity firms, banks, and even hedge funds. So, what is hedge fund? Hedge fund is when some of the corporates, they collaborate together and put their funding at a common platform wherein a professional is managing these investments, just to negate the risk of investments. Sure. Now let us see the Series B funding, which very few startups they opt for it. Of course, these are got various reasons. Primarily two reasons. One is positive, the other one is negative. So if it is positive, it is welcome move. But in case it is negative, it's a point of concern for the startup. So what is positive? When they have discovered a new opportunity for expansion before going for an IPO. And what happens before going for IPO? Again, you want to improve your value, and this is going to fetch you benefit in the long run. Okay, so they are just trying to get another boost before they actually go for the IPO. Apart from that, many companies are raising these funds to increase their value before going to public or to stay private longer. Okay. So this is a positive move, and there is no harm in this. But in case it is negative, so what happens in being negative? When the companies have hit the expectations, has not hit the rather expectations after raising the Series C round. This is a down round, and when a company raises this money at a lower valuation, and this is always going to be a negative aspect for the company. So here, the primary motive is just to support your business enterprise with the Series D funding in case something is going wrong, and even sometimes to flourish when it is the positive reason. The key takeaway is it may help a company to push through a tricky time, but it also devalues the stock of the company, and the goodwill is at stake. The goodwill definitely of the company is at stake, and it matters a lot in business dynamics. You need to have a goodwill, and the high degree of goodwill is going to give you high benefits. And after raising a down round, when you plunge down, it's very difficult for the startups to rise again because they have lost some degree of trust, and in some cases, it's the complete trust they have lost. So, and down rounds, as I told you earlier, they dilute the founder stock and can demoralize the employees as well, making it difficult to get back ahead. Because ultimately, the employees or the workforce or the human resource that do make a company succeed. And if they are demoralized, definitely it will have a negative impact on the work performances, further downside, giving a down round to the company. As far as the funding is concerned, it is done by the venture capital firms, and the amount raised and valuations they vary widely because I told you in both of the cases, whether it is positive or negative, the amount has to be perceived and deliberated and negotiated among this, the investors and the company owners. Another series under series is the series E funding. As many, very few people they go for the D funding. Even fewer will go for the series E because, uh, and the obvious reasons could be this: either they have failed to meet the expectations, or they want to stay the private longer, or they need a little more help before going to the public. Those so reasons could be many. But very few, to be very honest, very few people they go for the Series E funding for obvious reasons. Okay, so this is. I hope you might have now refreshed your knowledge from what exactly the Series A funding is, B, C, D, and for that matter the E funding, and this will enlighten you further to look for the right kind of funding at different stages of your business development. Okay. So this is how you can grow. Again, pictorial. And one picture is worth thousand of the messages. As you can see, the ultimate goal is to accomplish the objectives or the business goals. And definitely each startup, you love to attain the status of the unicorn. And there is no reason why you can't expect so. Correct. Then there are other types of the startup funding, which will definitely be a combination of some of the methods which we already have discussed previously. So this may include the combination of the venture capital and series seed funding like A, B, C, D, E. It could be a crowdfunding wherein the people, in expectation of getting a good product on the basis of the MVP, it could be generated. The small business loans could be taken. The small business grants could be taken. Private investors and the angel investors as well. So these are some of the other types of startup funding through various combinations. Uh, Concludingly, we can say that seed is raised on the vision, Series A is raised on the hope, and Series B is raised on the pure facts and figures. And Series B and Series C as well. As far as the Series A and B are concerned, they both share the common characteristics, but the only difference is Series B funding adds another category of the investor which tends to invest at a later stage. Okay. Whereas the Series A investors are the key anchor investors because these are the ones who will help to draw the other investors also. Because if you look into that, somebody has invested and he is fetching benefits, then the other investor also is getting equally attracted to that. And as already discussed, the amount of funding will depend on the factors like the type of industry, the demography, the geography, and even for that matter, the personality and the thought process or the risk-taking ability of the entrepreneur. So this is also equally important. This is one of the example. I'm not going to go into the details of that. Bottom line, you can see that. So with this, we conclude. And as usual, I have always made it a point. I include this slide in every my presentation because an entrepreneur needs to be the true leader. And how you can be a true leader? You have to lead the example. You have to lead from the front. You have to take moral responsibility, the complete responsibility for all kind of areas. And you should not act like a manager. And here I'm not trying to deal with the manager because manager has got specific role. I'm just trying to say the attributes. The attributes are important as far as the leadership is concerned because you are an entrepreneur and you have to make your own decisions. Okay, so uh, that's it for the day. And again, before closing down, I just remind you of some of the top unicorns in India. Although some of them they are now making losses, as we have heard, but you also can aim to be one of the top unicorns in India in times to come. So on that note, and wishing you all the very best in all your endeavors. I look forward to see a lot of progress in your business life. And in case I could be of some help to all of you as far as the these kind of matters are concerned, I always welcome you all at any point in time. These are my contact details and credentials. You can reach out to me through these details. So that's it for the day, and I'm really honored to receive your attention to this extent. So I thank all of you once again to be courteous to me and having listened to all the discussions that I have had in order to refresh your knowledge and just try to rethink in some of your considerations pertaining to the business developments. So that's it for the day. Thank you very much. Very shortly, we'll be coming with another topic of significance. So okay, have a nice day. Thank you.